Coach mistreated his mama. Just I know nigga that mistreated his mom and dad.
NBA legends are spilling the chilling truth about Kobe Bryant.
Kobe doesn't trust what's going on there. It's too bad. He doesn't have anything to go to help him out.
And once you hear what they said,
Kobe Bryant is probably a true sociopath.
You might never look at him the same way again.
I'm so disappointed in Kobe. He was trying to prove a point that he didn't have any help. He shot one time.
From Phil Jackson branding him uncoachable to Paul Shirley's eerie diagnosis.
It's an expression for a play that we run at the end of the game. But does Rudy have that play? Kobe doesn't trust what's going on there. It's too bad. He doesn't have anything to go to help him out.
And Charles Barkley's savage words. This is what basketball's greats really thought about the Black Mamba. When the Zen Master talks, the world listens. So when Phil Jackson, the most decorated coach in NBA history, called Kobe Bryant uncoachable, it didn't sound like a simple critique. It sounded like a professional death sentence. Jackson didn't just whisper it behind closed doors. He published it for the world to read, blasting Kobe in his 2004 tell-all book, The Last Season. That book wasn't just about basketball. It was a public autopsy of the Lakers' locker room, and Kobe's name was right in the middle of it. The same coach who once guided Michael Jordan to 6 championships said he couldn't find the words to express his frustration with Kobe's obsession with doing things his way. Kobe was uncoachable. Jackson wrote with surgical precision, describing him as too stubborn, too defiant, and unwilling to blend into the team system. But Jackson didn't stop there. He kept cutting deeper. The man who built an empire around the triangle offense found himself clashing with a player who seemed hell-bent on tearing it down. Things got so bad that Phil reportedly told Lakers owner Jerry Buss he wouldn't return if Bryant stayed. It wasn't just about coaching. It was an ultimatum. A declaration that exposed a toxic clash between two basketball geniuses who could never truly coexist.
Bryant is probably a true sociopath.
Years later, Jackson poured more gasoline on the fire. In a 2013 interview, he called Bryant very sensitive, saying he had to be really careful when criticizing him. That wasn't protection.
So I walked up to Shaquille O'Neal and I said, "Mr. O'Neal, I'm Paul Shirley. I'm here for training camp." And he said, "I know who you are." He didn't know who I was, but he did that to make me feel at ease and feel comfortable throughout training camp. He was kind, always asked, "Shirley, you need anything? Let me know." Kobe Bryant was the exact opposite of that. I kind of scared me in a lot of ways.
That was exposure. A master manipulator peeling back the curtain to show the world his former star's biggest emotional weakness. Jackson even admitted to tweaking Kobe during film sessions just to see his reaction. And Kobe would explode with anger. It painted the picture of a man so intense, even his own brilliance burned those around him. Then came the knockout punch. In 2014, Phil Jackson settled the eternal debate, Michael Jordan versus Kobe Bryant, and his verdict shattered millions of fans. MJ was better than Kobe, Jackson declared without hesitation. Coming from the man who coached both legends, this wasn't opinion. This was a verdict from the highest basketball court possible. The message was brutal. No matter how great Kobe was, in Phil's eyes, he'd always be a step behind Jordan. And if that wasn't enough, Jackson confessed that something he once said left a scar that Kobe never forgave. That line revealed more than any stat sheet. It showed a relationship permanently damaged. The teacher had broken his most gifted student, and both knew it. Even when Jackson came back to coach the Lakers from 2005 to 2011, and they won championships together, the tension never truly disappeared. Their success only masked a deeper truth. Kobe Bryant's greatest opponent wasn't on the other team. It was himself. Jackson's words read like a psychological report rather than a sports story. He studied Kobe like a case file.
I'm so disappointed in Kobe. He was trying to prove a point that he didn't have any help. He shot one time in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, they were comparing to Michael. I said, Michael, when he played against the Celtics, he's like, I got to get 60 something, I'm going to get it, whatever. He's not going to pout. Kobe starts texting me, you mother. I said, yo, man, I'm doing my job, but you such a so. We go back and forth so about this time, it's about 1 a.m. We go back and forth for like 2 hours. I said, yo, man, pick up the phone and call me. Stop texting. And it was great. We laughed about it later. He was mad at the moment. He understood I was doing my job.
Identifying weaknesses, charting behavior, and then publishing his findings for the entire world to analyze. It was more than criticism. It was betrayal. And then came the twist no one saw coming. Not from a coach or a rival, but from Paul Shirley, a former NBA journeyman who barely spent 3 weeks in Lakers training camp. Yet, what he said about Kobe sent shivers through the basketball world. On Jason Whitlock's show in 2025, Shirley didn't just describe Kobe, he diagnosed him. His words sounded more like something out of a criminal psychology report than a sports interview. He painted a haunting picture of Bryant as someone dangerously obsessed with control, power, and dominance. So much that it blurred the line between genius and madness. Shirley's take was so intense, so clinical, that fans didn't know whether to be shocked or fascinated. It wasn't the usual locker room gossip. It was psychological warfare wrapped in basketball storytelling. And coming from someone who had seen Kobe up close, even for a short time, his words carried a dark, unforgettable weight. This wasn't just locker room trash talk. This was something far darker. A trained observer looking at one of basketball's biggest icons and daring to say what no one else would, that Kobe Bryant might have been fundamentally broken as a person. Paul Shirley's chilling account painted a portrait so cold it made fans shiver. He said he watched Bryant mimic every single move of Michael Jordan, every shrug, every glare, every fist pump, until it stopped being admiration and started feeling like obsession. Teammates laughed behind his back, and Shaquille O'Neal even joked, calling him Baby Mike. But Shirley didn't laugh. He saw something much more disturbing. A man so emotionally detached that he couldn't even form his own identity. That's not just ego, that's eerie. The lack of a genuine personality, the robotic mimicry, the emotional numbness. Shirley suggested these weren't just flaws, but potential signs of something much deeper, maybe even psychological instability. His writings described Kobe as selfish, arrogant, and impossible to deal with, and not because of competitiveness, but because his teammates and staff only put up with him out of fear and respect for his insane talent. Yet the most disturbing part came from Shirley's own eyes. Watching Bryant in practice tear into his teammates with profanity, coldness and zero empathy. It wasn't trash talk. It was cruelty masked as leadership. And here's what makes it hit harder. Shirley wasn't some bitter ex-teammate or rival. He was a fringe player, a writer with nothing to gain and no reputation to defend. That gave his words a strange kind of honesty. He'd seen Kobe up close, unfiltered, in moments when the cameras were off, when the mask slipped. And what he described wasn't just arrogance. It was something that felt inhuman. Using his background in writing and psychology, Shirley laid out a list of behavioral red flags that could make even a therapist pause. The sociopath label he used wasn't medical, but it matched patterns he claimed to witness firsthand. The lack of real emotion, the inability to form authentic bonds.
He was considered a sidekick. He was considered a Robin. He was considered the next Pippen.
The copying of others' personalities, and a chilling disregard for how his actions affected those around him. Piece by piece, Shirley built a disturbing case that Kobe's drive might not have just come from ambition, but from something darker boiling underneath. His assessment became one of the most psychologically damning portraits ever drawn of Kobe Bryant. It hinted that beneath the Mamba mentality, that icy, relentless focus fans admired, could be something far more unsettling. Then came Charles Barkley, and his revelation took the madness to another level. Imagine getting phone calls in the middle of the night filled with profanity and threats so intense they could make a lawyer's jaw drop. That's what Barkley said happened when Kobe Bryant unleashed a 4-hour texting assault. Barkley's 2016 story sounded less like locker room banter and more like a police report. Except this time, the suspect was one of the NBA's most beloved figures. When you peel back Barkley's jokes, what you find isn't funny at all. It's a pattern of threatening, obsessive behavior that raises serious questions about Kobe's control over his own temper. And all this chaos started because of one post-game comment. After the Lakers' brutal 121-90 loss to the Phoenix Suns in the 2006 Western Conference playoffs, Barkley, doing his job as an analyst, called Kobe a ball hog and said his selfish play hurt the team. What came next was pure shock. Instead of brushing it off like most stars would, Kobe allegedly fired back with hours of rage-filled messages from 1 a.m. until 5 in the morning. 4 straight hours of insults and threats that Barkley himself said bordered on harassment. And here's what makes it even stranger. Barkley admitted he never got that kind of reaction from any other superstar. Not LeBron, not anyone. That means Kobe's outburst wasn't just personal, it was extreme. The obsessive late-night texts revealed something deeper, a mind that couldn't let go of a single slight. Barkley tried to play it off later, laughing in interviews, but everyone could tell. That night, he saw a side of Kobe Bryant that fans were never supposed to see. A side that felt more like obsession than confidence, more like fury than focus. And behind that furious midnight storm of messages was a glimpse into the darkness that few dared to talk about. Charles Barkley didn't stop at late-night threats. His criticism of Kobe Bryant grew even sharper and way more personal. During Bryant's 2020 memorial service, Barkley dropped a bomb that stunned everyone in the room. He dared to reference the flaw we all know about, a clear nod to the 2003 sexual assault case that Kobe had long tried to move past. Many saw the timing as heartless and wildly inappropriate. But Barkley didn't care. His decision to bring that up during a memorial wasn't an accident. It showed that he truly believed Kobe's darker moments couldn't just be erased by death. And when Barkley called Kobe a ball hog,
It's me with Kobe with Shaq. I don't win a championship. You don't think I could carry the Lakers to a championship? Like, I've never had the opportunity.
Correct.
I felt like if I was put in that position to win a championship, I damn sure would show up and do what I do in the playoffs to elevate my team to that level.
it wasn't just about basketball stats. It was about character. He was saying that Kobe's obsession with control went far beyond the court, and the numbers didn't exactly help Kobe's case. A 44.7% field goal rate and a staggering 14,481 missed shots. That's more misses than anyone in NBA history. And Barkley said those misses weren't just bad luck. They were the result of arrogance, ego, and an inability to trust his teammates. In Barkley's eyes, that wasn't confidence. It was selfishness disguised as greatness. But the midnight threats told an even scarier story. When someone responds to criticism not with words, but with intimidation, it paints a picture of someone dangerously volatile. Those rage-fueled texts, mixed with Kobe's other public blow-ups, hinted at something far deeper, maybe even psychological instability. Barkley's story, when combined with everything else that came out later, suggested that the man behind the Mamba mask was fighting demons far bigger than basketball. Then came another voice, one that shattered the myth of Kobe's tough love leadership. Jeremy Lin, the humble guard who rose to fame during Linsanity, revealed what it was really like to play under Kobe Bryant, and it wasn't pretty. His 2021 interview on the All the Smoke podcast pulled back the curtain on a relationship that turned from mentorship to psychological warfare. Lin described the breaking point with painful honesty. He said, "Look, you're Kobe. I'm coming in trying to learn from you, so I'm okay with anything as long as you talk to me like a man. Don't talk down to me like I'm a boy. Talk to me like a man and respect me." Those weren't the words of a rookie whining about coaching. They were a plea for basic respect. Lin wasn't fighting over basketball tactics. He was standing up for his dignity. And the tension between them didn't start there. It actually dated back to 2012, during Lin's breakout run in New York. When reporters asked Kobe about the Asian American sensation lighting up the league, he coldly said, "I have no idea what you guys are talking about." That line came after Lin had dropped 38 points on Kobe's Lakers. It wasn't ignorance. It was pure disrespect. A deliberate way to humiliate a rising player who had stolen the spotlight, if only for a moment. Then came the footage that proved everything Lin said was real. In leaked practice clips, Kobe was heard screaming at Lin and his teammates shouting, "We're soft like Charmin." The rant was brutal. So much that, according to teammate Nick Young, Lin broke down in tears afterward. That's not motivation. That's emotional warfare. It showed a side of Kobe that didn't inspire, it crushed. But Kobe's most ruthless moment came when he mocked his own teammates right before trade season. Lin remembered Kobe walking into the locker room and saying coldly, I just came by to say bye to some of you bums who are going to get traded. That line hit like a dagger. It showed just how little empathy Kobe had left. His focus on dominance had completely erased his humanity. And then there was the part nobody wanted to discuss, the racial element. Lin, an Asian American fighting for respect in a league where he already faced constant stereotypes, wasn't just battling Kobe's ego. He was facing targeted disrespect. The boy versus man tension between them carried deep historical meaning, especially coming from a superstar of Kobe's stature. It wasn't just arrogance, it felt personal, cultural, and cruel. After their explosive confrontation, Kobe's response was to completely shut Lin out. For 4 whole months, no conversation, no communication, nothing. That kind of silent treatment wasn't leadership, it was vindictive punishment. It showed a man who couldn't handle being challenged even slightly. Instead of resolving conflict like a captain, Kobe froze his own teammate out like an enemy. Behind the polished image of the Black Mamba, the killer mentality, the legendary work ethic, Jeremy Lin's story exposed the other side of Kobe Bryant, the cold, manipulative leader who used fear instead of trust to control his team. And for the first time, fans began to wonder, was that Mamba mentality really greatness, or just cruelty dressed as discipline? Kobe Bryant's way of leading sometimes looked more like punishment than mentorship. When Jeremy Lin finally stood up to him, Kobe didn't respond with wisdom or understanding. He chose psychological warfare. For 4 long months, he refused to speak to Lin, icing him out like he didn't even exist. That kind of silent treatment didn't just hurt team chemistry, it broke it completely. It also left Lin struggling mentally, showing that Bryant's version of leadership was less about inspiration and more about domination. This wasn't how a true champion treats his team. This was the reaction of a man who couldn't handle being challenged or called out for crossing the line. When Gilbert Arenas came for Kobe Bryant, he didn't throw punches. He brought a scalpel. In 2025, he unleashed an attack so calculated, it didn't just question Kobe's greatness, it tried to rewrite basketball history itself. Appearing on First Take, Arenas didn't just criticize. He performed a cold, surgical demolition of everything fans believed about the Black Mamba. His claim? Kobe's entire image, his greatness, his championships, his Mamba mentality was all built on hype and media manipulation. Arenas' most ruthless shot came when he compared Kobe to Scottie Pippen, not Michael Jordan. He said Kobe's first 3 titles meant nothing because he wasn't the driver of the car, just the passenger. Then he twisted the knife even deeper. Kobe had 3 rings with Shaq, but he was still in T-Mac conversations. The message was brutal. Kobe wasn't the alpha. He was a sidekick wearing a crown he didn't earn. Arenas didn't stop there. He went after the sacred idea of the Mamba mentality itself, the very thing that defined Kobe's legend. We're all celebrating the Mamba mentality now, Arenas said, but during Kobe's prime, everybody hated it, especially his teammates. That line hit hard. It turned Kobe's most admired trait into a warning sign, proof that what fans saw as greatness might have been pure toxicity behind the scenes. Then came the line that made even his critics pause. You're liking Kobe because you know Kobe. If you erase his name and just look at his stats, you'd hate him like you hate everyone else. That wasn't just criticism. That was character assassination wrapped in logic. Arenas was claiming that Kobe's fame had hypnotized fans, blinding them to the truth that his numbers and behavior wouldn't hold up without his legendary name attached. And Arenas wasn't just talking from the sidelines, he'd been there. Their most famous clash came on December the 17th, 2006. That night, in front of Kobe's home crowd, Arenas dropped 60 points on the Lakers, outscoring the Mamba in his own arena. The humiliation was brutal, and when reporters asked about it, Kobe couldn't bring himself to give Arenas credit. Instead, he brushed him off as a player with no conscience. It sounded like a compliment, but everyone knew it was a backhanded slap. So when Arenas struck back years later, it didn't come from nowhere. It came from memory, from rivalry, and maybe revenge. But what made it even more explosive was when he said it. After Kobe's death, when criticizing him was practically forbidden, Arenas knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just challenging Kobe's basketball legacy. He was tearing down the saint-like image that had been built around him after tragedy. To some, it was bravery, saying the things no one else dared to say. To others, it was cruelty, an unnecessary attack on a man who could no longer defend himself. But one thing was certain: Arenas forced fans to face uncomfortable questions about whether Kobe's legend was truth or myth. Just when the storm seemed over, another NBA name stepped up and threw gasoline on the fire. Former All-Star Jeff Teague dropped his own bombshell in 2025, this time targeting one of Kobe's proudest achievements: his reputation as an elite defender. On his Club 520 podcast, Teague didn't just poke holes, he tore the whole thing apart. Laughing into the mic, he said, "And I'ma tell y'all something about those all-defensive teams. They just put anybody on them after a while. Like, if you made it once or twice, 3 times, they just keep putting you on, like 12 times. Then he hit the line that sent shockwaves through the fan base. "I played Kobe, bro. He wasn't guarding like that." That wasn't just a jab. It was an accusation of fraud. Teague wasn't saying Kobe lost a step in his later years. He was saying the NBA had manufactured his defensive legacy. That all those all-defensive team honors, 12 in total, were just part of the myth-making machine that turned Kobe into an untouchable legend. His words landed like evidence in a courtroom. It sounded less like gossip and more like testimony, as if Teague was delivering a witness statement in a criminal investigation of basketball's biggest illusion. If what he said was true, it meant the league, the media, and even other players had been complicit in propping up a lie, that Kobe Bryant's defensive dominance was more narrative than reality. And coming from a peer, not a journalist or critic, that made it sting even more. Teague wasn't an enemy. He was a witness from inside the league. His confession cracked open another layer of the Mamba myth, leaving fans wondering just how much of Kobe's greatness had been built on truth, and how much was carefully constructed legend. The storm around Kobe Bryant's reputation only grew darker when Jeff Teague doubled down, and this time, he wasn't holding anything back. Maybe the first 4 or 5 years he was, Teague said, but after that, he wasn't guarding like that, bro. That one line hit like a grenade. It implied that for nearly half of his career, Kobe had been coasting purely on name recognition, racking up all defensive honors while barely doing the work. If true, it wasn't just exaggeration. It bordered on deception that fans would call criminal. But Teague didn't stop with Kobe's defense. He went straight for the jugular of his basketball soul. His next confession shocked everyone. I never liked watching Kobe Bryant play. I knew he was cold. I knew he was a killer, but I ain't never watched him play. All his games seemed like he was trying too hard. That wasn't just casual criticism. That was rejection. Teague was saying what few dared to admit, that Kobe's entire style, the thing fans worshiped, looked forced, performative, and joyless. It was more than aesthetics. It was psychology. Teague was implying that Kobe's relentless obsession didn't feel inspiring anymore. It felt unnatural. And then came the most brutal attack of all. Teague torched Kobe's 2009 and 2010 championship teams, the ones that were supposed to prove Kobe could win without Shaquille O'Neal. That Kobe team, outside of Kobe and Powell, Teague said, that team wasn't deep enough to be considered memorable. That line shattered one of the cornerstones of Kobe's legacy. He wasn't just questioning roster depth. He was saying those rings didn't count as legendary, that even Kobe's solo glory days were built on shaky ground. But there was more beneath the surface, a personal grudge that fueled the fire. In 2014, the Lakers had actually tried to recruit Teague to help their aging superstar, but he turned them down, blaming California's high taxes. Later, when they met on the court, Kobe confronted him in pure frustration, saying, "You left me out here with this shit. I told him to go get you." A jab clearly aimed at Jeremy Lin, whom Kobe thought wasn't up to par. That moment, raw, angry, and deeply personal, seemed to plant the seed for Teague's later vendetta. When he went public years later, it didn't sound like random criticism. It sounded like revenge. Of course, backlash came instantly and viciously. Former NBA player Olden Polynice fired back, calling Teague's comments a bum mindset, shaming him for tearing down a man who wasn't even alive to defend himself. But by then, the damage had already been done. Teague's words had taken root in the public's mind, whispering one poisonous question: was Kobe Bryant's defensive greatness real, or just a story the league wanted everyone to believe? And just when it seemed like the dust was settling, another bomb exploded. And this one came from inside the family. The betrayal hurt worse than any rival's insult, because it came from someone who had once called Kobe my brother. Tracy McGrady, the scoring prodigy who rose alongside Kobe, shocked the world in June 2025 when he went on ESPN's First Take and dismantled their brotherhood with one cold, calculated statement. McGrady didn't yell, didn't gloat. He spoke with surgical precision, and every word cut deep. He said, in essence, that Kobe Bryant wasn't special, that any talented player could have done the same thing if they were in his position. It wasn't just confidence. It was a full-on demolition of Kobe's legacy. McGrady argued that Bryant's championships were circumstantial, products of perfect timing, stacked rosters, and great coaching, not individual greatness. In his eyes, Kobe's rings weren't proof of superiority, just proof he was in the right place at the right time. That idea was devastating. It stripped Kobe of his individuality, his struggle, his mythos, turning him from a basketball god into just another guy who got lucky. And the betrayal hit harder because of their real friendship. McGrady had spent nights at Kobe's house when they were teenagers, watching Michael Jordan tapes together, dreaming about being legends. He'd eaten at Kobe's table, shared his grind, admired his obsession. For that man to later say Kobe was replaceable, it felt like betrayal on a soul-deep level. Fans exploded in rage. Social media erupted with anger, calling McGrady's comments jealous, low, and unforgivable. Within days, he was forced into full damage control, trying to clarify that he didn't mean disrespect. But it was too late. The wound had already been opened, and everyone had seen what spilled out. Kobe's story had always been about loyalty, drive, and unbreakable will. But McGrady's words changed the narrative. Suddenly, the question wasn't, was Kobe the greatest? It was Kobe even irreplaceable? And coming from someone who once called him family, that question hurt more than any headline or statistic ever could. Tracy McGrady's attempt to walk back his explosive remarks only made things worse. Appearing later on Time with Sports, he tried to patch the wound he'd opened, but the damage was already done. I never should have said replace, McGrady admitted. I never said I was better than Kobe. Kobe's my brother. By the second or third championship, Kobe's probably the best player in the game. It sounded sincere, but it was too late. Once you question a legend's worth, there's no rewind button. His clarification only highlighted how deeply he'd hurt both Kobe's legacy and their so-called brotherhood. Fans saw right through the apology. Because when you looked at McGrady's own record, the words started to ring hollow. Sure, he was a two-time scoring champion, lighting up the league with 32 points a game in his prime. But what about the playoffs? Despite all that firepower, McGrady never made it past the first round as his team's leader. How could someone who couldn't win a single playoff series claim he could have led teams to championships? It sounded less like confidence and more like delusion. And the timing made it even uglier. Speaking after Kobe's death, when the man couldn't defend himself, turned McGrady's comments from competitive trash talk into something far colder. It felt like either shocking insensitivity or carefully timed opportunism. His emotional backtracking, where he tearfully called Kobe his brother and tried to lump him with Michael Jordan, came off more like PR damage control than genuine remorse. Fans could sense it. That desperation to protect his own legacy rather than Kobe's memory. McGrady's slip reveals something haunting about professional brotherhoods in the NBA. That loyalty often dissolves when ego and history are on the line. He traded the truth for a soundbite, and in doing so, showed just how fragile those public bonds between superstars can be. His willingness to risk his friendship with a dead man for a fleeting moment of spotlight left a bitter taste that no apology could wash away. But if McGrady's betrayal was emotional, Stephen A. Smith's was calculated. The attack came live on national television, a late-night ambush disguised as commentary. In March 2025, Smith crossed a line even his critics didn't think he'd dare touch. He weaponized Kobe Bryant's death, not to mourn him, but to attack LeBron James. It happened on First Take, during a 15-minute tirade that felt more like a smear campaign than sports analysis. Smith unleashed a devastating lie, claiming LeBron James had skipped Kobe's memorial service. The implication was vicious that LeBron, one of Kobe's supposed successors, had disrespected a beloved legend in death. It wasn't just false, it was malicious. And Smith said it with conviction, turning his words into a moral indictment. He painted LeBron as heartless, as if missing the service proved a lack of character, loyalty, and respect. Fans watching at home were stunned and outraged. But within hours, multiple media outlets exposed the truth. LeBron had attended the February 24th, 2020 memorial at Staples Center. He'd simply asked not to be filmed out of respect for the moment. That revelation flipped the outrage right back onto Smith. This wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was premeditated. A deliberate attempt to twist a tragedy into clickbait, to spark conflict between two basketball icons who were supposed to represent unity. It was a classic case of manipulating grief for views, and it backfired spectacularly. What made it even darker was Smith's history with Kobe himself. Back in 2006, Smith had admitted that Bryant once scared the living hell out of me after confronting him over critical comments. He described Kobe as intimidating and emotionally unpredictable. So for Smith to later use that same man's death to attack another player showed a shocking level of opportunism, almost predatory. It painted a picture of a commentator who thrived on chaos, even at the cost of humanity. One who could fear a man in life and exploit his memory in death, all in the name of television ratings. And this wasn't the first time Smith had taken aim at Kobe. He'd been a long-time critic of Bryant's style, constantly calling out his shot selection and efficiency. In 2018, he'd slammed him again, saying, "Kobe takes too many shots. It costs his team." It fit perfectly into the narrative that many of Kobe's detractors had been building for years, that his Mamba mentality wasn't brilliance, but selfishness repackaged as greatness. Smith's on-air lie didn't just insult LeBron, it desecrated Kobe's memory too. It turned mourning into a media circus and showed just how low some figures in sports journalism were willing to sink for a headline. The moment burned into fans' minds as one of the ugliest examples of how fame, grief, and ego can collide on live TV and leave truth buried beneath the wreckage. Stephen A. Smith didn't back down. Even after Kobe Bryant's death, he kept firing shots like a man addicted to controversy. His relentless need to stir the pot suggested something deeper than journalism. It looked like obsession. When his false memorial accusation finally blew up in his face, the apology that followed sounded anything but heartfelt. "I misspoke. I corrected myself in our hearts too, when I acknowledged he was indeed in attendance. My mistake should not have even broached that subject." The words rolled off like a legal statement, not a genuine apology. It wasn't remorse. It was reputation management. Fans saw right through it. The response online was immediate and savage. Social media flooded with fury, calling Smith's apology soulless, classless, and straight up weird. Thousands accuse him of using Kobe's name to score cheap sympathy points from die-hard fans. People he'd already deceived with his earlier lie. What was supposed to be a correction turned into another PR disaster, making Smith look like exactly what critics claimed he'd become. A performer who valued attention over honesty. The entire scandal exposed something rotten at the heart of sports media. Smith had taken a tragedy, the death of one of basketball's greatest, and twisted it into ammunition for a completely unrelated feud. The false memorial story wasn't a mistake. It was exploitation. It showed how far some TV personalities would go, turning real loss into narrative warfare, where athletes aren't humans anymore, just weapons in ongoing media battles. Kobe's death had become a storyline, and Smith was the one holding the pen. And just when you thought the story couldn't get any darker, in came Shaquille O'Neal, dropping the most explosive revelation in NBA history. Not in a press conference, not in a memoir, but through a profanity-laced freestyle rap. In June 2008, standing under nightclub lights in New York, the 7-foot tight end grabbed the mic and unleashed a lyrical nuke aimed straight at his former teammate, Kobe Bryant. This wasn't a random performance, it was revenge poetry. The opening bars hit like bullets, but the next lines cut even deeper. Buried in the rhythm were accusations so sharp they could slice reputations in half. Shaq didn't just clown Kobe's game, he torched his character. He accused Bryant of something far more serious: betrayal during his darkest hour. The backstory reads like a courtroom thriller. Back in 2003, when Kobe was being questioned by police about the Colorado assault allegations, reports claimed he threw his own teammate under the bus, allegedly telling investigators, "I should have done what Shaq does." Shaq gives them money or buys them cars. He's already spent $1 million to keep the girls quiet. That one sentence, if true, wasn't just gossip, it was treachery. Imagine that, a superstar under fire, saving himself by painting his teammate as corrupt. Their partnership had brought the Lakers 3 straight championships from 2000 to 2002, a dynasty built on dominance. But behind the banners and confetti was pure tension. Two egos too big to share the same spotlight. Shaq had long claimed he was the leader, while Kobe fought to prove he didn't need anyone to shine. That fragile alliance shattered the moment Kobe's words hit that interrogation room. Shaq's 2008 rap was more than entertainment. It was evidence. A musical confession of pain, betrayal, and rage that had been simmering for 5 years. It showed that the wounds from their fallout had never healed. "Tell me how my ass tastes," Shaq spat, a crude but calculated strike that would echo through basketball history. He wasn't rapping for fame, he was testifying. And the timing couldn't have been crueler. Kobe had just lost the 2008 finals to the Boston Celtics, his lowest moment since Shaq's departure. That's when Shaq struck, delivering his lyrical dagger for the whole world to hear. It wasn't random anger, it was a planned execution. A reminder that no matter how high Kobe climbed, he'd never escape the shadow of the man he once betrayed. Their feud became the stuff of legend. But this verse made it personal again. Shaq's message was brutally clear. You needed me more than I ever needed you. And whether it was true or not, the world believed it for years. The fallout was electric. Fans were torn. Some saw Shaq as vindicated, others as vindictive. And when he later called Kobe's number, 11, all-time ranking criminal, it sounded twistedly loyal, almost like a man still defending the one who stabbed him. It was emotional whiplash. Hate tangled up with respect. What made Shaq's freestyle unforgettable wasn't just the words, but the precision behind them. He didn't lose control, he planned it. It was performance and punishment. He'd waited years, watched Kobe climb back to glory, and then, right when the timing was perfect, he hit back in the most public, humiliating way imaginable. In that moment, under the strobe lights and roaring crowd, the truth was impossible to miss. This wasn't just an NBA beef. It was a story of brotherhood turned betrayal, loyalty turned to poison, and two legends locked in a feud that would outlive them both. And just when you thought the saga couldn't get wilder, another voice, not a legend, but a master of controversy, was waiting in the wings, ready to ride the next wave of chaos. Charleston White has always been known for saying whatever's on his mind, no matter how shocking or offensive. But this time, he went way beyond controversial, straight into cruel. In August 2025, the self-proclaimed activist and online provocateur unleashed what many called the most disturbing attack ever made against Kobe Bryant's legacy. His twisted theory that Kobe's death wasn't an accident, but divine punishment. Yes, you read that right. White's rant claimed that the tragic helicopter crash that killed Kobe, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others was God's revenge for supposed family sins. It wasn't analysis, it was blasphemy disguised as commentary. His August 13th video was pure venom, a psychological assault wrapped in religious language, dripping with cruelty and arrogance. Even the most jaded corners of social media recoiled in disgust. This wasn't just a smear. It was what some call theological terrorism. White didn't just drag Kobe's name through the mud, he dragged heaven into it. He used faith itself as a weapon to justify a tragedy that shattered millions of hearts around the world. It was one of the most morally repulsive takes the internet had ever seen, and it crossed every imaginable line of decency. To make matters worse, White didn't stop at Kobe. He went after Gianna Bryant, a 13-year-old child whose only crime was sharing her father's love of basketball. Including her in his conspiracy theory exposed the true darkness behind his motives. The willingness to exploit a child's death just to grab attention. It wasn't commentary. It was cruelty for clicks. White twisted real family struggles into fuel for his warped narrative. Yes, Kobe's relationship with his parents, Joe and Pam Bryant, had been strained, mostly over personal disputes like his marriage to Vanessa and a lawsuit about memorabilia years later. But turning those private wounds into proof of divine punishment, that wasn't just insensitive, it was evil. It revealed a man so desperate for shock value, he was willing to turn heartbreak into entertainment. And the timing made it even more grotesque. 5 years after Kobe's death, when the pain had just begun to settle, when his family was finally finding peace, White decided to reopen the wound. He knew exactly what he was doing, targeting a family that couldn't defend themselves. He weaponized grief, twisted scripture, and turned a tragedy into a stage for his own chaos. By dragging faith into the conversation, White turned conspiracy into blasphemy. He claimed that God punished the Bryants for their personal disputes, as if divine judgment had anything to do with a tragic accident. That kind of thinking wasn't just disrespectful, it was dangerous. It spread the sick idea that tragedy equals punishment, a narrative that hurts victims, families, and believers everywhere. Even among the loudest voices of internet outrage, this one hit a new low. White's cruelty made even his usual critics fall silent for a moment, not out of respect, but sheer disbelief that anyone could go that far. Charleston White's theory didn't just insult Kobe Bryant's memory, it desecrated it. It showed the world how far attention-hungry personalities will go when empathy is replaced with ego. He turned one of basketball's most painful tragedies into clickbait, weaponizing faith and grief in the name of views. The result? A collective sense of disgust across fans, journalists, and even other influencers who saw through the act. What White called truth-telling was nothing more than exploitation, the final, ugliest chapter in a long line of character assassinations against a man who couldn't defend himself anymore. So, as we wrap this up, one thing stands clear. Legends don't die from crashes or conspiracies. They die when people twist their stories for fame. Thanks for watching. And if you want to uncover more shocking truths behind sports' biggest icons, click on the card now. The next story might be even wilder.